What's going on, Military Cashflow family? Hope everybody's having a great day. I want to talk a little bit about before I introduce the guest, before I get into the actual episode. I'd like to talk a little bit about a conversation I had with one of my friends, and he was getting a little frustrated because it's taken so long to get to where he wants, to the correct, I guess that right financial foundation, if you will, before he can purchase his first home or his first investment, right? And he's trying to get a duplex, but he's been talking about it for about 6 months, and he's just really frustrated. He's like, "Man, I've been listening to your podcast, watching all the videos, and I'm just itching. I'm just itching. I'm just itching." And I think there's a lot of people out there that are like that. You might be that person if you're listening to this now and you're like, man, I really want to, get that first duplex, or I really want to get that second duplex. I know it can be frustrating, but you got to have patience, man. You got to remain patient. You got to keep doing what you can do until you can get yourself right and that opportunity presents itself, right? So there are things that you can do while you're remaining patient, or while you're building that cash reserve, or while you're building that first down payment, or whatever it takes to get you financially ready, or however long it takes to get you, to that point. I mean, you can continue to network, you can continue to educate yourself, and you can continue to keep yourself in the right mind space. Don't get too overly antsy about this stuff, because then you start making bad decisions. You start writing offers on bad deals just because you just want to do a deal, right? So I would just say, remain patient, dude. Your time's going to come. I know it's frustrating. Hey, I'm dealing with the same thing right now, right? I'm just kind of biding my time, sitting back. I'm getting myself, right, and continuing to educate myself, and preparing myself for that next opportunity, because when it presents itself, I will be ready, and you're ready to go forward. So I just say that to anyone out there that's listening, that might be going through the same thing, that might be just like, hey man, I really want to get this next property, and I just feel like I can't get there, right? So just be patient, man. If you need to map out your plan, right, you should be able to kind of come up with some idea of when you'll be able to get, financially ready, or when you'll be financially ready. At least you'll have like a time frame, to kind of expect for when you can, take advantage of those opportunities that present themselves, right? So I just wanted to touch bases on that really quick, because I really think there are a few people out there that are that may be dealing with that, right? And if you're dealing with that, and you need someone else that might be able to look at your situation, and maybe there's something that you're not seeing that that I might see, or Mike might see. Hit us up on IG, or comment on one of our YouTube videos, and we'll be sure to reach out to you and talk to you, and see if we can't come up with something that might suit you. So we are here to help. All right. So with that said, our guest today is Mark Delaney. All right. And we talk about some really cool stuff. We mainly talk about transitioning, right? So at some point, whether it be at the 20-year mark or well before that mark, we're going to transition as soldiers, right? And if you've already transitioned, then you're familiar with the process, the SFL TAP process, if you're in the Army, or whatever it is, whatever the program is called in your particular branch. But there are a lot of resources that soldiers get overwhelmed with, or people just kind of get overwhelmed with. They kind of throw them at you so fast, or they gear you into one direction, or they push you into one direction, right? And that might not be what's best for you, and that might not be really what you want. You might want to be an entrepreneur, right? And there might not be classes, or programs that are kind of helping you get there. Well, in this podcast, Mark goes over all of those programs that can help you as you transition out, whether it be, you want to go back to school and get your graduate degree, you want to be an entrepreneur, right? Whether you want to do real estate, obviously you can listen to us and we can help you out with that. But we talk about a lot of different things to help soldiers transition, a lot of those resources that are not talked about often, right? So we're going to talk about that, and then we also touch on some of a little bit about real estate as well. So he is a rental property owner, so he talks about that. You know, he's an accidental landlord, but talks a little bit about his journey with real estate as well. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. What's going on, Military Cashflow family? Today we got a special guest, Mark Delaney. Hey, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate that. Would you please let us know a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you're doing?
Yeah, sure. I'll give you the quick version because I'm sure we'll get into some other things later and everything. But my name is Mark Delaney, prior Army. So I spent 8 years in the Army. And then as I was going through the transition process of leaving the military, felt just some frustrations in the transition journey, as anyone who has decided to exit out of service can kind of recognize with. And so not finding the answers that I wanted, I decided to scratch my own itch. And I started writing on my website called The Veteran Professional. It's theveteranpro.com. So as I found programs, resources, bits of information that were useful to me, I then shared it on the website. That then transitioned into starting a podcast called The Veteran Semi-Professional. The semis dropped in there because I wanted to talk about some things other than career, professional life, and talk about mental health and other things that affect the veteran community. So I've been doing that for about a year now and absolutely love it. Additionally, I'm just finished up my first year at business school. So I'm working on my MBA at the University of Virginia. And so I got another year of school left. And that's where I'm at right now. So located in Charlottesville, Virginia.
So you're taking advantage of all of the things that you talk about on your platform, right? A lot of the transition periods and things like that. But let's dive into your personal journey, right? So where did just give us a brief backstory of your military career, right? And then kind of, I'd love to transition into your mindset and where you were at when it came time to decide, hey, do I want to get out or stay? Because you're at an 8-year mark. I mean, that's like that. That's right there where everybody has that tough decision at. So would you mind just explaining some of that for us?
Yeah, sure. So to give you a brief overview of my military background. So I went to the University of Maryland, did ROTC there, commissioned into the infantry. So started off as an infantry officer, was there for 4 years, served in the 82nd Airborne at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, then decided to go over to civil affairs. And so I entered into, for those of you who aren't Army related, it's a small role within the special operations community. So like we're one of the 3 soft branches within the Army. So went over there, was there for 4 years, deployed to Syria, and then if you want to call it a deployment, I went to Saudi Arabia as well. Got deployment pay, but lived in a Marriott for 6 months. So hesitate to call it a deployment anyway. So then decided somewhere around when I was at like my 6 to 7 year mark or something that I decided I wanted to get out. And there was a couple of factors that came to that, leading me to make that decision. The first one was I was looking at, my next career options and what was ahead of me. And I wasn't super excited about it. It looked like they'd be cool jobs, but it wasn't necessarily like what I joined the Army to do. So I wasn't stoked by what was ahead of me. Additionally, in full disclosure, I'd had a series of failed relationships that all, broke down around either a deployment or around a PCS. And it was just weighing on me, just to be honest, like that was tough. Just constantly having that happen in my life. And then additionally, I have a bit of an entrepreneurial itch, kind of like running the show and the podcast and everything. You can probably figure that out. And, I thought about trying to start something and like build a business while I was in the military. And just me personally, I decided that I just didn't want to do that. I wanted to just focus on my military career and, decided not to do that. And so I knew that if I really wanted to dedicate myself to that, I was going to have to exit out of the military. And so it was kind of a confluence of those various factors. And then also overlay that with, when the timing kind of worked out. I got out when I was 30 years old. I had, the 100% GI Bill, didn't have a family to support. And so it was just a lot of the things that, can cause people to want to stay in. I didn't have weighing against me, or, I didn't have in my decision-making process. And so that's the full story of, why I decided to exit out of the Army.
Yeah, that's an interesting piece, especially with you being like an officer as well, and then you're at the 8-year mark, because that's right around, you got a couple more years and you're making major, and then a lot of people look at it as like, hey, that's a nice little pay bump right there, so
Right.
might as well stay in, kind of finish out the rest of it. So you mentioned that some of the things you had ahead, you were not really looking forward to. What were some of those things?
I was looking, I think in particular, just in the branch that I was in civil affairs, company commanders are very much, you're basically a staff officer. Even when you are a company commander, essentially that's just really kind of how it works. When our company uh, deployed, I saw my company commander, and basically she was just put into a 2-star level staff, and she was trying to like do commander things on top of that, but in reality, like the bulk of her time and effort was in doing staff work for the 2-star that she was working for.
Making slides.
I didn't want to say it quite like that, but like we all know that's what was happening, right? And unfortunately, like that's just kind of how it works in the software in particular. Like when you're company commander, you're not out there, you know, out with the troops doing the things. And if I had stayed in the infantry, maybe that would have been the path in front of me. But in the CA world, that just wasn't what was going to happen. And so looking at that, and then knowing, going for being a glorified staff officer, a glorified commander, but in reality you're a staff officer, then to go being a staff officer again, it just wasn't what I wanted to go do. And overlaid, everything else that I also discussed, it was the right inflection point for me.
Okay. All right. Now, you mentioned, I guess a little bit offline, we're talking a little bit offline. You mentioned that you were going through the transition process, right? And I guess there were some things that you didn't know, or some things that you continued to find out more. And that's kind of what sparked you to start putting out information and doing more research and so on and so forth. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So what I saw, there were three big dynamics that I saw lacking in the transition process. The first one is that there are a gazillion resources out there for veterans. I had a venture capitalist on my show, I don't know, a month and a half ago or something, and he's done like a ton of research on veterans and entrepreneurship and veteran assistance and everything. And like the veteran cause is the most dense charitable cause that is out there. Like we have there are way more nonprofits for like that purpose than any other area or specialty, like density wise, right? But sifting through them all is utterly exhausting,
It's
and there's
overwhelming
so
too.
many.
It's getting
It's completely overwhelming.
Yeah.
Completely overwhelming. Like you could spend all day every day looking at them and still probably not figure out every single one that's out there. And so I went into, but I saw that there were some that just I kept hearing over and over again. There were some that I was like, these are top notch, and I want to let people know about them. And there's some other ones that, it's just like it kind of don't even waste your time on. And so part of my platform was like wanting to push those ones to the top that I kept hearing over and over and over again, and let people know about those. So that was one. Then another thing that I saw was that there's not a lot of information about being a vet going to graduate school. Okay. Now, lots of people leave, both officers, enlisted, and warrant officers alike, with bachelor's degree already in hand. And now, they have a GI Bill or something, and they're prime candidates to go get a graduate degree. But all of the focus is on getting vets to undergraduate institutions, and it's awesome. And there's some fantastic organizations out there that do really good work, and I don't want to take away from anything that they're doing. All I'm saying is I think that I saw a missed opportunity in having all these people with fantastic, leadership experience and world experience and everything, armed with a GI Bill or however they're going to pay for graduate school. And there just wasn't the amount of resources that I thought there should be, amount of information out there that I thought there should be for that population. And then the last thing that I saw and I felt was that the entire system, the entire ecosystem of the transition process was just pushing me and everyone around me to go get a job, just like a job job. Like just get something, get that paycheck, get the 9 to 5, and like, let's all check that block. Right. And I think if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably like, yeah, I don't want to do that. Right. And I think that's just leaving, like, I know our generation and veterans in general, like we're better than that. And we can do more than that. And like, we have a lot more to give ourselves and our country than just going to get a job. And so I wanted to show people, past to higher level careers. I wanted to show them past to entrepreneurship. I wanted to show them like there's so much out there else that you can do besides just going to get a paycheck somewhere.
I really, really like that because, I mean, I've been in 8 years, coming up on 9 years now, and I've seen a lot of that as well. Like I've noticed every soldier that I talk to, when they're about to transition, hey, what are your goals are? What are your plans? And typically, the ones who've thought it ahead, they usually have a good idea and have some idea what they want to do. But the ones who haven't, they're mainly relying on the transition process that the military has to kind of come up with that for them, right? And I've noticed that every single one, yeah, well, I'm in this transition program, and they're telling me, well, what is it? I think it's called SFL TAP, or
Right.
maybe they changed it or something like that.
Yeah,
But
that's the Army's version. Yeah.
yeah. So every single one, they're like, yeah, we're doing resume building, we're doing this, and it's all geared towards getting another job. But if you had any recommendations, what would those recommendations be to? I mean, I know you said you kind of introduced entrepreneurship or things like that, but what else would you recommend?
So I'll briefly touch on it. I just had a conversation the other day with someone, and I think it teases out a couple of things that I like want to highlight for the audience. Okay. And so one of the things is, some of the reason that I think people want to go get just a job, a paycheck, is you have a family to provide for, right? And there's absolutely like you got kids, you got spouse, you got a mortgage, and you're like, I need money, like I don't have time to go work on a startup for 6 months or something or whatever, right? And that is a completely justifiable reason, all right? But I will tell you just a brief story of someone that I spoke the other day who kind of can like flip that around on its head. All right. So I was listening to this panel about entrepreneurship through acquisition. So acquiring businesses. Okay. Now, most people hear this and they're like, dude, there's no way I can buy a business, man. I don't have like $5 million sitting in the bank to go buy a company. That sounds ridiculous. And then like you start looking at it a little bit more and you're like, well, I didn't go to Harvard. I don't have, a fancy MBA from Stanford or something. Like this path isn't for me. Well, the guy I was talking to was, an E7 in the Army, didn't have a fancy graduate degree, didn't go to Harvard, didn't go to Stanford or Yale or anywhere else. And he went onto this site called searchfunder.com, put on there like, hey, I'm looking to buy a business in this area. I'm a veteran. Immediately, people started hitting him up and like, I want to invest in you. Okay. He said he went out to dinner with a couple of people, and it was like one guy, we grabbed wings and beer within 20 minutes. The guy was like, yep, I'll invest 150K in you. Tell me some more about Afghanistan, because I'm really interested in that. And like, that's really kind of all the guy wanted to talk about. And he was just like, I know this will work. And, within 4 months, this guy had acquired a business. He works 8:30 to 2:30, and he owns 80% of a company, just like that. Right. It doesn't have to go get a job. And so like, that's just a case I highlight of, you can like do that things like get the paycheck, and you can do that things like give yourself the time with the family, but then also, be working for yourself if you want to.
Yeah, man, I think that's an excellent point. It's extremely interesting. I don't think it's hard for a lot of soldiers, I've noticed, to think outside of the box of what's presented to you, right?
Right.
So, I mean, even as I've noticed, like the NCOs I've worked with, some NCOs that I've worked with, and when they talk to their soldiers, they're usually saying, hey, the job that you do here can translate over to the civilian sector to get a job. Everything's always translatable over to a job, but we don't talk about the skills that we learn that can also help us be entrepreneurs or managers in our own lane, just like you're talking about buying a business. And then also, I guess to couple that, as far as buying a business, not having all the money to do this, yes, you can definitely go and partner, and that, you can definitely partner, and that can definitely work. But you can also buy other assets as well, like real estate, like we talk on the podcast all the time, right? So I mean, you can pretty much invest through your military career, with that awesome, powerful loan product we have called the VA loan. You talk about a lot of resources that are provided by the military, and I think that's one that's also overlooked. People aren't using it. They're using it, but they're not using it to their advantage, right? So, that's a phenomenal story. So, So I mean, are you still keeping in touch with that E7?
Yeah. Well, he's going to be on my podcast here pretty shortly. I think probably by the time the episode between the two of us publishes, it probably be like a couple of weeks after that. The one with him will come out.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to put a link to that whenever you got to send it our way so we can listen to that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what are some of the other, what do you think are some of the other most overlooked resources that we're not taking advantage of?
Yeah, I definitely will double tap the VA loan for sure. I think a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about it. They think there's like weird rules or something with it, and they just don't realize how freaking easy it is.
Yeah,
And like how wonderful it is. And I mean, like I actually just I'm not like a hardcore real estate investor. I have one property in Fayetteville, but just refinanced with the VA loan. Like I had acquired it with the VA loan and just refinanced again through, I can't remember the exact name of the program, but it's like the VA Streamline program or something like that.
Earl. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Funny enough, they actually got me through direct mail. I actually like opened the envelope and like read it and whatever, but it was amazing deal. And went super smooth. Everything was like super well taken care of. Is a fantastic benefit. And so like, if you're looking to acquire wealth, I mean, I can't put you in a better direction than the VA loan. It's awesome. But if you're feeling some other, entrepreneurial itch, a couple of programs and organizations that I'll point out for sure. So one, definitely Bunker Labs. So they are a nationwide organization and they have chapters all across the country, and they put on events for, military and military affiliated communities focused around entrepreneurship. And that can take a lot of different flavors. They run a program called the Veterans and Residents Program for people who have, like are working on a startup. And a lot of them are people who are just having an idea, really. Like you don't have to have, full-fledged, venture-backed tech startup or something. Like you can come into them like, I just kind of have this crazy idea on the back of a napkin right now, and apply, and like you might get in and they can work with you. Okay. Additionally, they run, events and meetings and everything. It's a great community to link up with people, especially like, entrepreneurial minded people. And even if, you're not working on a business or something, it's just a good way to hang out and meet other cool minded vets. I've been to a few events, and sometimes people are there like, listen, like I'm not working on a startup or something. I work for a big financial services company or whatever, but like we have services that are of benefit to you. Let's talk. And oh, by the way, yeah, I'm a vet too. So like we can kind of share some experiences there. So Bunker Labs, 10 out of 10 recommend.
What's the spelling? Because I'm trying to type it down. I'm trying to write it down so I can put it in the show notes. It's Bunker Lab with a B like Bravo.
Yep.
Okay. Got it. Cool.
So a bunker, like, like a bunker
you're
getting in, right? And then labs, just
All
like
right, cool.
a science lab. Yeah. So Bunker Labs, another great one, especially if you're looking into either, acquiring a business or starting one, is called Vet to CEO. Fantastic guys. They put together this program. I think it's about 7 weeks long, and they take you through everything you need to know about starting a business, from the different types of entity structures that are out there to, common legal pitfalls. And I know like, this is a very like real estate focused kind of podcast. And so a lot of the stuff that they talk about can be applicable if you're trying to, go beyond just having like a couple of properties and like, create a full-fledged business around your real estate investing. So those guys are fantastic. And then the other one I'll also recommend, if you have a company that is, a business that's like kind of actually running, and you're really kind of like looking to take it to the next level, I would check out Patriot Bootcamp. So it's a little more tech focused, but they run these weekend long events where they'll kind of help you out with some stuff. And then they also like really try and connect you with investors. And like, the idea, like you have a kind of small fire going, and they really like want to throw gasoline on top of it and just get that baby roaring.
So you're ready to scale, right?
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so we got Bunker Labs, we got Vet to CEO, and we got Patriot Bootcamp, more tech focused. I will
Yeah.
definitely put links to those in the show notes. So that sounds really, really good. I love that you're talking about the entrepreneur aspect, because that's what kind of gets me hyped, right? Like,
Yeah, man.
I pretty much say I'm a real estate entrepreneur, right? So I love everything to do with real estate, and also like other just the entrepreneurial spirit in general, right? I absolutely love it. So I love that you're talking about that. But I noticed on your on the veteran semi-professional, you also touch on some of those things that um, are helping individuals kind of get into college and get into, kind of like you touched on at the beginning. What are some of those resources that that people can easily take advantage of?
Yeah, sure. Um, so especially if you're looking for the undergrad route, okay, service to school is top notch. They have, so what they do, basically, if you're applying to any type of graduate program, or excuse me, any type of school, so undergraduate, MBA, law school, whatever, they will pair you up with an ambassador, and so that is another veteran who has already gone through that process and will be like your river guide to help you through that application process. Okay. Now, if you are applying for undergraduate programs, Service to School has hooked up a what is really like an unfair advantage for veterans in their program. Um, it's awesome. I love it. So like they've partnered with, I mean, the top notch schools in the country, like all, I think pretty much all of the Ivy Leagues. I mean, really like the best schools you can talk about in the United States. Okay. And they have this program called VetLink. And what it does is it like just makes it easier for you as a veteran to apply to these schools. And like I said, it gives you a leg up over everybody else. It really does. So 10 out of 10 recommend them. Definitely check out Next Step Inbound. So it's a group of former enlisted Marines, and they're the kind of guys who I think one of them maybe had like a 1.7 leaving high school GPA or something, and he's now at Columbia. So they're the kind of guys everyone told him, you're not going to go to college, like you're not going to be successful, and they're all at Columbia and
Ivy League schools.
and Princeton right now. Yeah, these guys are just straight crushing it. Okay, so they're awesome. Definitely check out Warrior Scholar Project as well. Again, this is for if you're applying for undergrad. Warrior Scholar Project basically puts you through, I want to say it's like a 2 to 3 week kind of like boot camp intensive academic process where you're being taught by some of the best professors at the best universities in the country. And it just gives you, kind of gets you back into like an academic mindset. And then talking to some of the guys at Next Step Inbound actually who went through Warrior Scholar program, they're like, it gave me this boost of confidence that, I thought I was, this junior enlisted Marine coming out, that I was going to be able to cut it at this Ivy League school. And, I started turning in work to Ivy League professors, and they're like, yeah, like you're hanging with the best of my class right now. So you belong here. Because having that imposter syndrome can be a real thing for vets in higher ed. And so that's one of the fantastic programs that's out there to remove that for people.
Yeah, that's phenomenal, man. That is, I'm actually kind of going through that right now, right? So I got the GradSo option, which for those of you who don't know, it's like you get to go to school for 2 years, whatever school you want to go to for 2 years. Obviously, you have to get accepted, but your whole primary focus during those 2 years is just to study. And this is kind of one of those things that another program the military offers. I'm not sure if they still offer this or not, but I know they have different programs like this for sure.
Right.
So but part of the process that I'm going through now is I got to take the GMAT. I got to study for GMAT. Well, shoot, man, I've been out of school for like 8 years. So I'm definitely going to be looking up some of these programs here. Definitely going to be looking up some of the programs here to try this out to better my chances of getting into.
Are you thinking business school? Is that like what you're looking at?
Well, I'm actually, so because, me and my wife are both dual military, right? So our plan is to try to go to Fort Bragg. And as you guys know, I run the podcast, right? I'm extremely interested in real estate. So I'd like to get an MBA with a concentration in real estate or something involving just basically wealth management, right? So
Gotcha.
right
Okay.
now, front runner for me is Campbell University, because it's proximity to Fort Bragg. And
Right.
then also they have a trust and wealth management degree right there, which is right up my alley. And it'll allow me to kind of do all the things I want to do, right? So take the 2 years, take that course along with an MBA. It's kind of a dual thing, or MBA with a concentration of trust and wealth management. So that's kind of what I plan to do. And then my wife, obviously, she's right there at Fort Bragg. So that's
Gotcha.
kind of what our plans are, but definitely taking advantage of these opportunities that you're talking about right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. And what I'll tell everyone too, with the standardized tests and everything. So one, through the Dante's program, you can get your first test free. So GMAT, GRE, I'm pretty sure like SAT and ACT maybe as well. Uh, but if you're thinking business school, everyone, the traditional wisdom has always been take the GMAT. Uh, I'm sitting here at Darden. I took the GRE, and I knew lots of people who took the GRE. I took the GRE because I knew I would do better on the GRE than I would do on the GMAT. So if you're thinking of going the business school route, I would encourage you, take whatever test you think you're going to do best on, and don't worry about what it looks like to have the GMAT or the GRE. And the other thing that I'll say with that as well is that so at least for like business school rankings, which are like it or hate it or super important for everybody. They factor in like the average GMAT score into there, but they don't factor in the average GRE score. So what that means is there's like a little more wiggle room. There's a little more like risk tolerance from the school to get like a little bit lower GRE score, because they're not reporting that for the rankings.
Dude, that's an excellent point. I like that. I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
look into that now. So that's great. Yeah, man. So let's talk a little bit about your journey with the the veteran semi-professional, man. What are you doing with that? What is your like your goal with that? I mean, we talked about scaling a business, right? So
Right.
where are you going with that? How is that scaling?
I'll start off on how it started. Okay. So, my game plan was I got out of the Army in end of 2019, and I was, set to start my grad program in August 2020. Okay. So I had this, 9-10 month period of freedom that I was like, I'm going to go travel the world, man. Just go like do all the things, have all the adventures, all the stuff. Got like 3 months in, and then COVID hit. And I was in Bolivia, traveling around, backpacking around South America, and I had put all my stuff in storage. I left the Army, didn't have a job at this point, so I'm like homeless and unemployed. Okay, and
And
I text my sister, and I'm like, like, can I move in with you, because I need to come back to the United States. And she was like, can you come here tomorrow, because she and my brother-in-law were trying to transition to remote work, and they got 2 small kids in the house and everything. So I moved in with them, and was kind of like a part-time Uncle Manny living with my sister. All right. Full disclosure. So we're kind of in quarantine, and, I was working on my website, working on the veteranpro.com, writing. And then I was like, you know what? I'm kind of bored. Let me start a podcast. And so the first one was, I called someone else up that I knew that was doing, business school. And I was like, dude, let's just like have a couple beers and talk about applying to business schools. And that's really all we did. And then it just kind of snowballed and everything. So the intent of the show is we have 2 different types of episodes. So the first one that we do is called the weekly sit rep. And so if you're on Instagram at all, you probably know who Sit Reps to Steercos is. He's got a fantastic meme page that probably most people know about. So Kyle and I get together every week, and we talk about business and politics from the past week, all in an effort to help you understand the civilian world that you're getting into. So like the new operating environment of being outside the military. Additionally, I then interview people about their lives and careers after the military to show people, the various career options that are out there, and like how they might go about achieving, going down that route and achieving those goals and everything. And, I think I said earlier that, the reason I added the semi-professional in there is because I also wanted to expand that conversation into talking to people about mental health, about depression, anxiety, suicide, the things that unfortunately plague our community. And I wanted to have, like, I knew talking about it was a better form to be able to have those types of conversations. And so I wanted to move beyond just doing just doing career and professional talk. And so, like, that's why I kind of opened that up to that part of the show. So as far as my goal and everything, we've been kind of steadily increasing viewership and everything. And, I had a friend text me 2 weeks ago or something and say, hey man, like whenever you want to quit the podcast thing and get a real job or something, like come let me know. And I was like, dude, I'm having so much fun, man. Like I don't want to stop. And like what I kind of tell everyone about the podcast is, I want to grow it. I want to get as many people to listen to it as possible, because I think that I'm doing good things for the community. But I'll fully admit some of like the personal benefits that come from it as well. So one, it's been a tremendous networking tool for me. I can go to anyone and be like, hey, do you want to talk about yourself for 45 minutes? And nobody says no to that, people. It's super easy. Okay. Case in point, I mean, all you do is ask me, hey, Mark, you want to talk about yourself for 45 minutes? And I was like, yeah, sure. Right. You ask me a couple questions and I just get going. So it's been hugely beneficial to kind of get my foot in the door with some people. And then just like the feeling of satisfaction that I get from, talking to some like really cool vets out there who are doing some awesome things. Like I get so much personal benefit out of it. If, one person listens to it every week and it's just one person, like that person loves it, then I'm gonna keep doing it.
Oh man, I definitely feel that. I definitely understand that a lot.
Yeah.
I've had a few times people have stopped me, like when I was at Fort Drum and even here at Fort Stewart, and like, hey, you look so familiar. Do you, I think I seen you on YouTube.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool, man. And they're like, oh man, I learned so much about the VA loan, and now I'm doing this, and now this, and we get so many cool stories from people that we had no idea that we've affected, and the ability to I guess affect or influence other people into building their financial future is just awesome. And then when you hear those stories, it's just so rewarding. So I'm sure you get that same feeling that you're talking about right now. So it's good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the way I kind of think about it is, I'm not in the Army anymore. I'm not a soldier.
Yeah.
And I don't think that like, veteran is necessarily the first part of my identity at all, but this will absolutely always be a part of who I am. My best friends are the guys that I served with. One of them is still serving right now. The picture is like right above me right now. You can't see it, but like those are my best friends. Those are some of my absolute best memories. And like the highs and the lows, but before I joined, my dad was in the Navy, and I remember him like kind of pulling me aside one time, and he's like, Mark, you're going to have your highest highs and your lowest lows. And damn if it wasn't true, because some of like the absolute just best moments that were just phenomenal came while I served, and some low ones too. But I want to be able to stay connected to the community of people that I've worked with and care about and frankly just love.
Yeah, man, that's awesome, dude. I definitely feel everything you said. That and that's crazy. We got some other synergies that I didn't know there. I'm a Navy brat too, man. So that's cool.
Yeah,
man. So I can't let you leave here without talking about real estate, right? So you mentioned that you had a rental property. We're gonna just transition just a little bit, right? So this is Military Cashflow Podcast, and we do talk real estate, right? So please, can you give us some information about your rental property? How'd you go about finding it? How'd you finance it? Obviously, you did the VA loan, but and then you said, I'm assuming you're renting it out right now. So can you talk us through some of that?
Yeah, sure. So I had zero intent of like turning this into a investment, or excuse me, like a rental property. It was really, I was debt free. I was, like a 26, 27-year-old captain stationed at Fort Bragg, had some deployment money sitting in my back pocket. I had a roommate lined up to pay half my mortgage with and everything. Right. And so I'm sitting there, I'm like, you know what, let's get a house. Why not? I got the VA loan sitting there as well, so I can do this for no money down. So I wish that I'd had like a better process than going on Zillow and just like looking and then contacting like the first real estate agent that I came across. But that's kind of how it worked out. If I go back, I wouldn't have done that, because she definitely was not like the best real estate agent who was looking out for my every interest at the top of her list. But I was too stupid to know any better at the time. But through kind of sheer dumb luck, the house that I ended up acquiring was like right down the street from her. And so she was out walking her dog one night, She saw the for sale sign up, called me immediately. We put our offer in
Come be
right
my
away.
neighbor.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. Yeah. She called me like right away. She's like, Mark, house, great. We went and checked it out. It was fantastic. You know, my dad lives in Raleigh. So like he had just bought a house in Raleigh, not too far away. And, you know, we gave me the number for his home inspector. Like that guy checked it out. Gave me, I will say too, I didn't realize again, like, I was kind of too stupid to know any better at the time, but like the home inspector that I got through my dad, this guy was absolutely phenomenal. Like he gave me this like 70-page report about this house. And it wasn't until I then, you know, was renting a house on the other side of Fort Bragg when I saw the home inspection report and it was like 2 pages. And I was like, this is accepted because this is not what this guy gave me. So I would say like, you know, if you can find a fantastic home inspector, he basically gave me this like giant to-do list of here's everything you could possibly ever wish to do in this house. And it was amazing.
And that's super important. Just really quick, why that's super important is because especially as the buyer, right? He's finding all the deficiencies, right? And that's giving you ammo to go back and negotiate either the price or the terms, right? With the actual seller. 2019 wasn't as hot a market as it is right now. And so with that 60 or 70 page document that you had there with all the faults and all the things that are messed up about the house, that gave you a lot of power to go back and say, hey, I want to renegotiate price or can you fix all XYZ, so that's extremely powerful. And then also about the realtors, man, all real estate professionals in general are just not built the same, right? So shameless plug, if you're looking for some, please just go to our website. We literally link veterans up with realtors for free. So no cost to you. And it's literally to avoid situations just like that. So I'm sorry.
Yeah. So anyway, closing the house, no problems. Lived there for a couple years, you know, had roommates probably 75% of the time or something. So, you know, they were paying half my mortgage, which was awesome. And then when I decided to move out, I was like, okay, you know, this is a good house. It's in a good neighborhood. You know, I think it's a strong rental property. Spoke to a property manager. She was like, yeah, I think we can get this rented pretty easily. We did get it rented pretty easily. The first tenant was an absolute nightmare. Absolute nightmare. I mean, I was on the phone with the property manager every day, multiple times a day. You know, she told me, she's like, Mark, I've been doing this for 27 years and this is the craziest person I've ever dealt with. Okay. So that was not the norm. All right. That person was only there for about a month. And then we eventually like got her out. And then, you know, I got another tenant in about a couple of weeks later and they've been there for, I think like 2.5 years. And I have not heard a peep out of them. Just been like every month I open an email and it says, you know, here's your statement from your property manager. It's the amount that I expect. And like, that's all I do with it. It's awesome.
Excellent. And you gotta, while you were living there, you had some roommates and you were doing the house hack method, right? So exactly. You were getting to pocket most of your BH, I imagine. If they're paying half your rent, you're being able to pocket your BH and then you know, do with whatever you wanted to. And while your roommate was helping you pay down the debt that you owe on that asset, which is in turn basically building your net worth, right? So like the difference between the debt that you owe and the home value, that's equity right there. So that's awesome, man. That's awesome. And then you moved out and you're continuing to renting out. And I'm sure you just did the Earl. So did you do a cash out refi or did you just do the
just a straight refi?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure you're looking at the value of your home now and you're like, damn, I got some major equity in it now. Right. So,
yeah. It's nice right now.
Yeah. So that's nice, man. That's nice. All right, man. Dude, you've talked us through a bunch of stuff. We talked about how we can help other service members out, how you're doing that through your platform. We talked about some real estate. We got to dive into a little bit of real estate. So I'm happy about that. If there was one piece of advice that you can give any service member out there, what would that one piece of advice be?
100% lean into the vet net. Okay. It is real and it is powerful. Whatever career you're interested in, whatever school you want to go to, whatever, market you want to invest in real estate in, find other other veterans in that community and tap into them. Okay. And I don't want to say that, only have veterans in your network. Absolutely not. Definitely don't do that. But it is a fantastic way to start. And I find that, there's bonds of service do not end after the uniform comes off at all. Um, I talk with guys who served 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And like, they just still, the moment you say like, yeah, I was in the Army, I mean, it's like everything else stops. They're like, yep, you're the guy I'm talking to right now. And like everyone else, it's just kind of like bullshit in the background.
Start going through units and what they went through, and you got some shared, you find those shared little common things, so yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And so whatever your query is, start off with some vets in there and reaching out to them. And kind of like what I always typically found too is vets will usually give you the very straight, honest answer on whatever is happening that you're curious about. And so that's another good reason to talk to them.
I mean, that's phenomenal advice. I mean, that's I don't think anyone's actually said that as their parting, thing that they would give, right? I think reaching out to a vet is probably the easiest way to gain a foothold in whatever business or whatever, career option that you're trying to do, because of exactly what Mark just said there. You have those shared common interests. They're going to be upfront and honest with you. And it's just, we kind of have this somewhat of a tight knit community, even if it's not the same branch, man. Like that's the even cooler thing. Cause we brought Marines on the podcast, airport. The only certain branch that we have not brought on the podcast yet is Space Force. So if you're listening to this in your Space Force and you're involved in real estate, please come talk to us, because you'd be the first. But yeah, man, just got a lot of shared interest and we find a lot of commonalities within other military service members. So I think it's awesome. Well said. Very well said. Yeah, man. So thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
That's what happens when you record sometimes. Yeah,
man. Yeah. And so thanks so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate that. How can our guests get in contact with you?
Yeah, sure. So follow me on the socials. So on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, just go to @theveteranprofessional. Okay. And you can go to my website, which is theveteranpro.com. And then you can look up the podcast, which is the Veteran Semi-Professional. Okay. And then additionally, if you want to reach out to me directly, go to mark@theveteranpro.com. You can email me directly right there. I respond to everybody.
Nice. Again, all those links are going to be down below. So please make sure you reach out to Mark and check out the Veteran Semi-Professional podcast, man. I've been listening to a couple episodes. They're really, really good, man. So, and they give out a lot of valuable information, especially if you're trying to go off to college. I think like one of the first 2 or 3 episodes was purely focused on MBA. So that's pretty cool, man, and what you can gain from it. So make sure you reach out to Mark. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you leave a like, hit that notification bell. We really appreciate that. Leave a comment below. If you're listening to this on podcast, make sure you leave us a review. We really appreciate those. Other than that, this is Dan Wynn signing off.